Unvented roofs, or conditioned roofs, sort of have a bad reputation in the building community, as we see a lot of problems with poorly designed unvented roof assemblies, and that's led to a lot of builders and design professionals to avoid them entirely. However, when designed properly, they can actually outperform vented roofs in basically all climates. In this video, we're talking about 5 of the biggest myths around unvented roofs, how to design them properly to avoid things like moisture issues, and how they can actually improve the durability of your home. Let's get into it. Alright, myth number 1, unvented roofs rot. Perhaps the biggest myth around unvented, conditioned roofs is that they'll simply rot away. You'll get mold on the backside of the sheathing because we're not venting the space, and we'll get a ton of moisture accumulation in the attic. In reality, this is completely dependent on how the roof assembly itself is designed, how you're controlling condensation on the backside of the sheathing, and whether or not you have some form of moisture control. Just because the roof is unvented, that doesn't mean we aren't introducing some form of air change or a moisture removal mechanism. That's why we refer to unvented roofs as conditioned roofs. They actually need to be conditioned. So let's first talk about the assembly design of conditioned roofs. There's several strategies that we can use to prevent moisture from condensing on the backside of the sheathing. The best strategy is to install rigid insulation outboard of the sheathing at a sufficient thickness to warm the condensing surface of the sheathing. The amount of rigid insulation that you need is completely dependent on the climate zone that you're building in, the R value of the rigid insulation product, and the total R value of the roof assembly. Obviously, colder climates are going to require a larger ratio of rigid insulation to be installed outboard, whereas warmer climates will require less. If we install all of the insulation outboard of the sheathing, we have what we call the perfect roof assembly, in which the roof structure experiences the same temperature and relative humidity as the rest of the conditioned space. We also want to make sure that the roof assembly is airtight, and so we want to specify either a self-adhered or fluid-applied air barrier over the sheathing to prevent convective looping at insulation joints that could end up depositing moisture within the assembly. We also want to install a rigid insulation over that, preferably in multiple layers with staggered and offset joints to prevent energy loss and cool temperatures from reaching the sheathing at the seams. Next, we want to install an additional layer of sheathing over the rigid insulation to provide a fastening base for the roofing material, and then we want to install a vapor permeable underlayment and the finished roofing material. For installing wood shingles or metal roofing, we want to provide a drainage plane with some entangled mesh to ensure that water doesn't get trapped and cause issues. Now, if we can't use rigid insulation outboard of the sheathing, we can either use closed cell spray foam on the underside of the sheathing, sealed rigid foam boards, or taped smart vapor retarder membrane to prevent condensation. There are some caveats to all these strategies, specifically spray foam, which we tend to see the most issues with, especially in cold climates, but we do have these other options at our disposal if we're diligent about the details. Myth number 2, you have to use spray foam. Building off our previous myth, you're not just limited to spray foam as a solution when it comes to a conditioned roof assembly. Quite frankly, I think you should avoid spray foam wherever possible due to its potential to crack in cold climates, and perhaps more importantly, its tendency to off-gas chemicals even long after it's been installed, with some odorless chemicals off-gassing even months after installation. I've talked about this before in previous videos, but we've had issues with spray foam odors and off-gassing as confirmed by multiple third-party lab testing. This wasn't bad spray foam, and it was actually installed properly, so we tend to avoid it now for those reasons, and either opt for rigid foam insulation installed outboard or a foam-free option using a smart vapor retarder. So in this conditioned roof assembly, you'll see that we have no foam products whatsoever. We don't have any exterior rigid insulation, so how are we controlling vapor diffusion and air leakage that could deposit moisture and cause condensation to form on the underside of the sheathing? Well, we're specifying a taped smart vapor retarder membrane. If you watch this channel for any length of time, you know that I like to use this for a lot of different applications, because quite frankly, it's a more affordable option to rigid foam products and spray foam, and we can get a pretty solid air barrier if we do a good job about taping the membrane. It also provides us a lot more flexibility in terms of what types of insulation products that we can use inside the rafter cavities. In this case, we're calling out mineral wool bats, but we can also use netted blown-in cellulose insulation, we could use wood fiber insulation or fiberglass. I like to use mineral wool because it won't support rot, it's vapor open, and it provides additional fire resistance to the assembly, so mineral wool is a great option here. So we want to install our mineral wool bats within the rafter cavity like this, and then we're able to staple the smart vapor retarder membrane to the rafters, taping all of the seams, joints, and penetrations in that membrane, and then we have the option to install some 2x3 strapping, which will provide a service cavity if we're planning to finish the ceiling of the space, or if this will be a simple attic space, we can leave it as is with that exposed membrane. So we have options at our disposal here. Then, installed on top of the assembly, we have a self-adhered vapor permeable underlayment that's been installed over some CDX plywood plywood sheathing. Could we use OSB? Absolutely. But here we're using plywood for the enhanced drying potential, since plywood becomes a lot more vapor permeable when it gets wet. It also has a much higher hygric buffer capacity compared to OSB, so it won't fail as quickly if it gets wet. And then the self-adhered vapor permeable underlayment will provide a watertight and airtight layer while allowing moisture to dry out of the assembly if water leaks through the penetrations or if we happen to get condensation within this space. Installed over the underlayment, we have an entangled mesh like cedar breather, and that will provide a drainage gap and break capillary continuity and allow these cedar shingles to dry out easily when water gets behind them, keeping them durable for a long time. Same thing if we have a metal roof, we want to provide a small drainage gap to prevent moisture accumulation that could lead to localized corrosion. Myth number 3, unvented roofs cause ice dams. Alright, I'll admit there's actually some truth to this one, but it's an easy modification that we can use to address this. But first, it's important to understand exactly what ice dams are and how to prevent them. Ice dams are those buildups of ice and snow that you tend to see on some roof assemblies, with large icicles that extend down from the eaves. For those who haven't seen them, this is what they look like. Now, how these ice dams form is that we have snow melt on the surface of the roof due to the heat loss from the interior, coupled with the thermal resistance of the snow that's built up on the roof. Snow is actually a decent insulator at between R1 and R2 per inch, which means that if you have a foot of snow built up on your roof, you could be adding an additional thermal resistance of R12 to R24 on top of the roof assembly, and that's more than enough to warm the surface of the shingles to cause the bottom layer of snow to melt. The water that runs down the surface of the roof comes into contact with the eaves or overhangs, which are not part of the conditioned space, and therefore are colder, which causes the water to freeze at the eaves. Eventually, we get a buildup of ice and snow at this location, and when the ice dam melts, it can actually get underneath our waterproofing materials in our roof assembly and cause leaks to form in the roof, which is why you tend to see ice and water shield being specified over the roof eaves. Now keep in mind, this is generally if you're building in a cold climate with a high snow load. Usually we're talking about a ground snow load of over 50 pounds per square foot. Vented attics do a great job at preventing this, as the roof sheathing is uncoupled from the heat loss of the building. We have cold air entering the attic, keeping the temperature of the sheathing and the shingles close to outdoor conditions, and the roof venting flushes any heat from the roof assembly before it has a chance to accumulate. So what can we do to prevent ice dams in unvented conditioned attics and roofs? Well, it's simple. We build a vented roof over the conditioned roof, sometimes just called a vented over roof. This uncouples the heat loss of the building from the surface of the roof, keeping the sheathing and the roofing cold and closer to outdoor temperatures. We simply install furring strips over the roof sheathing or over the rigid insulation, providing continuous air intakes at the soffits or fascias, and vents at the top. We install an additional layer of sheathing for a fastening base, a vapor permeable underlayment, and the final roofing material. Myth number 4, unvented roofs will make your shingles blow off. Wet rotten sheathing is what causes shingles to blow off on any roof, whether it's vented or unvented, since we get a loss of withdrawal strength. Now, we can get wet sheathing in an unvented roof if we don't control condensation, air leakage, and moisture accumulation within the sheathing. One classic example of this is actually in open cell spray foam roofs. While open cell foam can provide the benefits of an air barrier, it's still highly vapor open, even at greater thicknesses. Vapor diffuses through the open cell foam and gets stored in the sheathing, increasing moisture content over time if we don't have some form of moisture removal in the space, and then we tend to get rot and then our shingles blow off. Myth number 5, unvented roofs are hotter than vented roofs. Roof venting actually has very little impact on attic temperatures unless we're comparing uninsulated roof assemblies. Insulation, air tightness, and thermal bridging are what have the biggest effects on heat flow in a building. Insulation is what slows the flow of heat. If we're doing a good job about insulating the space and providing a thermal break, our conditioned attic is going to stay close to interior temperatures. Also remember that our unvented roofs should be contained within the conditioned space, meaning that it needs to receive some air change. This means that presumably we'd have a supply and return duct within the space, providing conditioned air and exhausting stale hot air that rises and ends up in the space. The fact is that the color of your roofing material will actually have a bigger impact on temperatures than venting. Something else to think about is that if we're air conditioning the interior space, the negative pressures exerted by the vented roof will tend to suck cool air out of the home through poorly sealed penetrations and other air leaks in the ceiling plane. For more information on roof assemblies and building envelope design, head over to asiri-designs.com, where we have over 150 free building science articles that cover a wide range of topics, from flat roof design to basements and crawl spaces to renovating old buildings. And if you haven't already, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe for more weekly building science videos. For now, good luck with your projects. Cheers.